Hi everyone. Today, me, Tasvik, along with my teammates Team and JX, is going to share you in this presentation our key recommendation for preventing future safety crises at Boeing, implementing stronger feed-forward control measures in the approach design, and roll out critical aircraft systems such as MCAs. This proactive approach can help Boeing avoid costly mistakes, safeguard passengers' lives, and restore trust. Feed-forward control is all about anticipation. Instead of waiting for problems to occur, it focuses on identifying potential risks before they happen. Using predictive analysis, scenario testing, and preventive action, it is the opposite of simply reacting to the incidents. It is about getting ahead of them. For Boeing, this means detecting risk at the design stage before an aircraft ever takes off. In this case of 737 MAX, Boeing redesigned the MCAS system but failed to anticipate how those changes could lead to critical failures. They relied on a single sensor input without redundancy and chose not to update pilot manuals to reflect the system's behavior. To respond effectively during malfunctions without feed-forward controls, these risks went unnoticed until tragedy struck.
For the recommendation, there is 5 key actions. The first recommendation is to integrate safety impact assessment early. So every design change should undergo rigorous analysis to predict possible points of failure, like single sensor dependency. The second recommendation is to have a pilot handbook update protocol. This is to create a mandatory checklist to ensure all operational changes are documented and reflected in pilot training material before rollout. The third recommendation is to have a cross-departmental review. This requires engineering, safety, training, and certification team to approve any modification before it leaves the design phase. The fourth recommendation is to use human in the loop simulation testing. This to run real-time simulator tests with pilot to observe responses under failure scenario before the aircraft is certified. The fifth recommendation is to have ethic and risk culture training. This to encourage decision makers to prioritize long-term safety over short-term competitive pressure. By adopting these feed-forward measures, Boeing can identify safety hazards earlier, ensure pilots are fully prepared, foster stronger internal communication, and rebuild public confidence in its aircraft. This approach doesn't just save money, it saves lives. Proactive control means safer skies. Now let's talk about the implementation details. This feed-forward control plan will involve key roles. The engineering manager to lead the technical analysis, the R&D leader to oversee innovation and testing, pilot to provide real-world operational feedback, and the financial manager to ensure cost efficiency. It will be carried out before the release phase, both at Boeing headquarters and at the aircraft testing site, ensuring that all issues are resolved before the plane are delivered. The main cost factor will include labor costs for engineers and trainers, raw material costs for testing and simulation, and the expenses for safety innovations and capital costs for facility use and equipment. Of course, there are potential challenges such as high initial investment, time loss due to extended testing phases, and the difficulty of predicting every possible failure scenario. But these are far outweighed by the long-term benefits of safety, trust, and operational excellence.
Our second recommendation addresses Boeing's lack of effective feedback control during the 737 MAX program. Feedback control is about monitoring actual outcomes, comparing them against clear safety standards, and taking corrective actions when deviation occurs. Boeing's absence of robust feedback loops meant that after the first crash, the MCAS flaw was not corrected, leading to a second tragedy. Here's how we make sure that that never happens again. First, who will lead this change? The Chief Safety Officer will own the framework and sign off on all safety KPIs. A dedicated safety and reliability engineering team will track real-time data and in-flight telemetry, while flight operations and training divisions collect pilot reports and feed them back to engineering. An independent safety review board, insulated from sales and production pressures, will review any Category 1 safety threats. Finally, our IT and data teams will build the monitoring and reporting platforms to keep this system running seamlessly. Second, when and where will this happen? We start the framework design and KPI development in the first 3 months at Boeing HQ and our engineering hubs in Seattle and Renton. Between months 4 and 9, we implement the monitoring system and reporting channels, testing them on production lines and test flights. By month 18, this framework will be deployed across the global fleet, with annual safety audits to ensure standards are evolving with technology and regulations. Third, what are the costs? There will be monetary costs like developing systems, paying independent auditors, and training pilots and engineers. There will be time costs, such as implementations and training can take people away from the day-to-day tasks. There will even be opportunity costs, as stricter safety gates could delay some aircraft deliveries. And yes, there may be short-term reputation costs if safety reviews ground certain planes. But all of these are pale in comparison to the financial and human costs of another crash. Fourth, what challenges do we expect? We anticipate cultural resistance from managers worried about slowing production. There's the risk of information bottlenecks where data doesn't reach decision makers quickly enough. Coordinating globally across suppliers and partners will require clear, consistent processes. And we will need to manage false alarms, as too many non-critical alerts can cause teams to tune out. Finally, there will be pushback from those focused solely on cost savings. But with clear accountability, independent oversight, and a company-wide commitment to safety, these challenges are manageable. This feedback control framework will close the safety loop, ensure that the lessons from incidents are acted upon immediately, and rebuild trust with regulators, airlines, and the flying public. In conclusion, for both recommendations, feed-forward control prevents safety risks before they happen, while feedback control ensures we learn and act when problem emerges. Together, this system will shift Boeing from a reactive, cost-driven culture to a proactive, safety-first organization. The investment is not just about compliance, it's about protecting lives, safeguarding Boeing's reputation, and ensuring the long-term sustainability of its business.